Hi, and welcome back to another episode of O'Fallon Life on Air, O'Fallon's premier podcast. Why? It's still the only one. That's why we'll call it the premier one. But thank you for coming back, tuning in however you are on Spotify, YouTube, whatever you prefer to listen to podcasts. We're glad you're here with us. Today I am joined by Caroline Hecker. Caroline is the newest public information officer for the O'Fallon Police Department. So public information officer, or commonly referred to as PIO. So thank you for stepping in here and sitting down with us today.
Sure, I'm ready.
All right. PIO does a lot of different functions, right? And so a lot of it is you're dealing with the media. You are really the face and the first contact for media relations for the city, the PD, when it comes to that. And so just getting into kind of your background, give us a little bit about who Caroline is. So are you a St. Louis kid? Are you from here and all that?
So I'm not a St. Louis kid.
Okay.
I grew up in Avon Lake, Ohio. It's a suburb of Cleveland, but I came to Mizzou for journalism. Okay. So that's what brought me to Missouri.
All right. And you loved it so much, you're still here. So
yeah,
we'll go with that. All right. So that's my next question. Where did you go to college? You went to Mizzou. Mm-hmm. All right. They're a famously renowned, nationally known J school.
Yep.
So tell us about that and kind of like how that prepared you for what you're doing now, or did it?
Sure. My entire life, I feel like my purpose has been to be a journalist or a storyteller. And so when I learned about the Mizzou program, I just knew that's where I needed to go. So I went to Mizzou. And then when I graduated from Mizzou, I decided television was the path. That was kind of what I had pursued my junior and senior year. And so I started at a TV station in a small town, La Crosse, Wisconsin. I spent about 4 years there. And then I kind of graduated and went to Columbia, South Carolina, and was a reporter there for 2 years at the NBC affiliate. And then in March of 2020, I came to Channel 4 here in St. Louis and worked there for the last 6 years.
Okay. Tell us a little more about Channel 4 here, KMOV, like what all you've experienced. I know you, not to spoil it, but you did a lot of work with St. Charles County area news happenings and O'Fallon PD from that side. So kind of give us some background on what you did on that side of it.
So I came here in March of 2020, so literally the week the world shut down. So for the first few years, it was a lot of pandemic and COVID-related stories. Mm-hmm. But once we kind of came out of that, I was trying to find what I was particularly passionate about or what I enjoyed, the stories I enjoyed telling. And so because I've always lived in St. Charles County since I moved here, I was like, well, I want to learn more about where I live and the people that, make it go. So to your point, as the years went on, I started doing more and more stories out here. And my work with the law enforcement community out here really started in 2023, I think. I decided to do a series on the Eastern Missouri Police Academy to kind of profile what a class of recruits goes through from start to finish, from protocol day all the way to graduation. And that's where I got exposed to a lot of the command staffs for people that had recruits in the academy and just kind of into this realm, and it expanded from there.
Okay. You started here for O'Fallon PD in April of this year, 2026. Now we're here in July, so I'm not giving you a whole lot of time to give me like, oh, what have you done and all that kind of stuff. So I'll maybe bring it back a year from now and like let you really get into the weeds there. But so far in these last 3 months, what has it been like jumping from one side of the camera per se to the other?
It's an adjustment. I left Channel 4 looking for kind of a lifestyle change, and I've certainly found that as a PIO. I loved my time at Channel 4. Those are still some of my best friends, but I was just looking for something where the pace was a little bit different, and I can still apply the skills that I used as a journalist and as a reporter, shooting video, editing video, just in a different capacity, which is what I've kind of started to do. Mm-hmm. So if you look at our social media pages, Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, you'll see a lot of videos and photos, and those are all things that I'm creating using my skill set from the journalism side of things now as a PIO. But I don't know a lot about the law enforcement side of things. There's a lot to learn there. So I've been trying to immerse myself in different experiences and expose myself to different things, all while also creating content to help me start to at least try to understand what some of these men and women encounter and go through and interact with, all those kinds of things. So I've been trying to jump at any opportunity to get out in the field and do things.
Right. Have you had a phone call yet from a old colleague now calling and said, hey, what's going on with this? I need some information.
I've had just a few.
Okay.
Thankfully, there's been a lot of good news that's been coming out of the department. But that is a major difference. As a journalist, you want to know everything. And so learning that restraint and learning that you know more than you can share and you don't want to jeopardize an investigation or anything like that is a learning curve, but it's something that I understand and have embraced. And I have people at the department who are helping me along in that regard, and I'm helping them when it comes to this is what the media needs or what they want or what they expect. And so that's a two-way street. But it is different to be on the receiving end of that phone call.
Have you experienced anything so far in the last few months that you didn't expect to? On the side and inside the PD?
Not really. I mean, every day is different, which I like because it's the same as in the reporting world. You never know what the day is going to look like. It can start one way and end a whole different way. So I kind of like that uncertainty, and I like the pace. It's similar or comparable to what it was at Channel 4, but there hasn't been anything yet that's thrown me for an absolute loop.
You've been doing ride-alongs with the officer to kind of like you said, immerse yourself into that. What have you seen from there that you didn't think about?
So a lot of the ride-alongs I did when I worked at Channel 4 were for something targeted. So temporary tags or, speeding. And you were looking for certain things when you're out with these officers. And now I'm able to go out and just watch what they do day to day. It could be a call that's nothing. It could be a call that's significant. But you get a feel for how they're interacting with people, kind of gauge the temperature of, how people interact with them on the other side of things. That's been fascinating to see. Everything from what you might consider something minor is just still someone's worst day.
Sure.
And so to watch them kind of talk people through it and work with them, it's been eye-opening. There's a lot of things in our world that now require police intervention, right or wrong. And so it's just interesting to kind of get a feel for what that is in our community. But I've really enjoyed it. Like, it's been very fascinating to me to see and not have to report on it, but just to observe. You know what I mean? Just to observe.
What is I'm assuming, I don't know for sure, never worked in a newsroom, but the news desk manager kind of assigns stories, right? Like, hey, this came in, we want you to go handle this, cover this story. How do you don't have that now. So how are you getting these stories? Just you're generating them yourself, or is there a direction?
So there are times in the newsroom where exactly what you just described happens. Something happens and it's like, this is your assignment today. But what most people don't know is 9 times out of 10, we are generating our own story ideas, which is one of the reasons the job can be very stressful and exhausting because you're working off the clock. After you just put in a full 10, now you're going home and trying to figure out what are a couple of things I can pitch in the morning that can pan out tomorrow. So I kind of know how to like hunt and look for things. But in this world, what I'm filling my days with are things that I find. So like if I hear about a training that's going on that I think is fascinating that the public might have never seen before that I want to show them, I ask, hey, can I go collect some footage of this? I run it up the chain, and if everyone's good with it, I just go. And that's kind of how I've increased my visibility. People are getting more familiar with who I am. You'll appreciate this. So last week, SWAT had their biannual physical fitness test. And so they're down and they're doing the obstacle course and they're doing the 1.5 mile run and then the range in the afternoon. That's fascinating to me. And people, I think, are curious when you pull back that curtain of like what goes on the training side of things. So I went out there and I filmed them doing this obstacle course and the run. And, as we were doing it, a couple of them were like, you going to do it? You going to do it? And I'm watching,
Did you do it?
I'm watching these guys finish this obstacle course. And this is like, they're the picture of health. These guys are in great shape. This is what they do. And they're gassed. And I'm like, well, there's no hope for me. But I tried.
Okay.
I completed it.
All right.
The obstacle course. I will admit on the second time through, I needed a little bit of assistance over these 6-foot walls.
Fair enough.
Because I don't have a lot of upper body strength, but it was about trying it. But you know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's like, I feel like there was some respect gained there because it was more than me just going out and filming content and booking it and leaving. I was like, I want to, again, take part so that I can continue to understand what these people go through so that, when it comes time for me to be the voice of the department or be the voice of whatever, in the back of my mind, I have a little more empathy for what they're going through because I'm trying it myself.
So instead of just watching it happen, you can actually say how it felt.
And the story is never about me, and it never was when I was at Channel 4. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, that test is timed, and that is like, it was incredible.
So to the same vein, will you do taser training? Just curious.
So they asked me if I wanted to be gassed, tear gassed. I was like, this is enough for one day. The running and the obstacle, that was enough.
You told me you'd come back. Like, give me next time, I'll be here.
And there's a few things coming up in the next few months that they're training that I'm sure that you've taken part in that I think the public will find fascinating, that I've, again, floated the question out there, hey, can we capture this? Can we show the public what goes into this? And they're like, yeah, that would be great. So I think there'll be some cool things coming out here soon that you'll be like, wow, that's kind of fun.
All right. Just out of pure curiosity, do you remember your time for the obstacle course?
So my time was a sluggish 7:30.
I'd say that's respectable
But
for
I
the
think
first time doing
the
it.
time is, the max is like 5:30.
It's still, you've never done it.
No. And I'm out of shape relative to these guys. And I will admit, I didn't do the pull-up section because, again, I would have just hung there. But the walls and the fence and the tunnels and the ram, you just don't, it's hard to appreciate the level of physical fitness you have to be in to maintain your spot on the team, how I understood it.
Yeah, and I think one of the things, too, that you experienced is that it's not, in each thing of itself is not that big of a deal. You're putting them all together back to back to back, and you don't ever have a chance to get your breath back and rest as you're going through it. So I think that's really great that you did. I think one of the things, what I'm hearing, and I hope that the residents and your viewers on social media and stuff can come to appreciate as time goes on, is that for a lot of the cops, O'Fallon or anybody else, that this is their job. They do all these things every day. So you're talking about, on patrol, and it's you said that it's kind of a routine thing, but to that resident they're interacting with, it might be the biggest thing they have happen that year to them, but to the cop, it's just part of their shift. And I think with example of the SWAT team, they don't think any of this is really that exciting because they do it all the time and they're so used to it. But I think you being able to show that to the public will be a really big benefit to understanding kind of the humanizing behind the badge type of thing.
And the time and the energy and the strategy, obviously we don't show everything when they train, but it's incredible how particular you have to be. And the difference is life and death, and so to watch them train over and over and over again, if the public, you're not at the training center, you don't know you have no concept of what goes into it. And so when you see the dedication and what's required to do something that's optional, right? The SWAT team, you don't have to be on it. I just think it's admirable, and they deserve recognition whether they want it or not.
Sure.
I have a camera in their face. And so I think they find there's a little bit of fun in that. But yeah, I try to show people.
A lot of departments now do a Citizens Police Academy, which O'Fallon has been doing for many 15, 20 years, if not more. And you can only show so much in a classroom. Kind of, you try to take them out to the range and do those different things, experience it. But, you're kind of able to dig in a little bit more. And
I think there's probably a school of thought on having a PIO that's a civilian. So this position, as far as I know, was previously always an officer. So that's an officer that has other duties within the department and also juggles being a PIO. Now that it's a civilian position, I can dedicate my entire day to it. And because I don't have a background in law enforcement, what I might find interesting or fascinating is just another day on the job to an officer, right? So I find things that I know the general public, like me, might be like, that's kind of cool.
Right.
Where if this is just your world, you're like, no big deal. It's we're working out. It's like, well, no, people think this is cool.
I do think you're right. I think you, as far as I know, have been here in the city myself 20 years now, and I think you are the first civilian public information officer that O'Fallon PD has ever had. It's not an unknown or uncommon thing around the country. I know St. Charles County had Val Joyner for many years as a civilian PIO, did a great job with their stuff. And, there's the likes of Judy Powell, who has nationally known PIOs, worked for Chief Bratton, I think both in New York City and LA. And so now what does that tell us more about that, I guess, the civilian side of this and how that looks to you.
So for me, like I said, it allows me to dedicate my entire day to being a public information officer. I'm not supervising anybody else within the department. Like, this is my world. So I'm able to set things up for not just today, but down the line and make all these phone calls. And, coming from Channel 4, I'm familiar with a lot of my counterparts especially out in St. Charles County, because I work with them in the reporter capacity. So those friendships and those relationships are already built in. So I know Barry Bales over at St. Charles County, or, Jacob Schmidt out at Wentzville. I know them. And so that's an easy phone call for me to make, where if you had another civilian walking into the position, those are relationships and trusts and rapport that you're going to have to build over time. And I kind of already have those built in. So that's been helpful. But I like being able to just focus on telling these good stories. And it's honestly, as a civilian in the department, I've met with some of the command staff, some of the lieutenants, and said, hey, can we just kind of start thinking in terms of, if you see something or hear about something on your shift that you think might be a good idea for social media, just send me an email. Let me decide. Great example. The other day, there was an officer who responded to a car wreck at 70 and Bryan Road, and he's talking with one of the drivers outside of a car, and the sergeant calls me, goes, check out the dash camera video of so-and-so's car. So I go into the system and look, and while he was talking to this man, another car that's farther away has a piece of hot plastic explode, because the cars it wasn't on fire, but a little tiny piece. And when you watch the dash cam video, it almost looks like a shooting star or a meteor, and it starts falling. And the officer, not really knowing what it was, bats it away because it was going to hit this man in the head. And he got first and second degree burns on his hand because it was a hot piece of plastic. Sure. And so had that sergeant not been like, you know what, this might be something that's worth acknowledging, and let me let Caroline know about this, then nobody knows. People don't know what they don't know. So it's kind of a change in your thought process. I
would assume the officer probably would have gotten his hand treated and moved on with the day, and it's part of the job.
And I asked him, I was like, can I put this online? And he laughed. He's like, I guess. And so I do run into that where they're like, this is just the job. Yeah. But people appreciate, and that video did fantastic on our social media pages. People appreciate that. He didn't have to do anything. He could have stepped out of the way and let it hit, and he would never do that. But you don't know about those kind of things until someone tells you. And I feel like it's my job to communicate those kinds of things to the public, the people that we serve.
Yeah. What are you looking forward to the most in this role?
It's been fun, and I look forward to just more experiences that help me understand this world more. Mm-hmm. Like, my whole life has been journalism, and that's been my world, and I feel like I'm an expert in that. This is somewhat foreign to me. There's a lot to it. But I'm looking forward to continuing to, just like I said, get involved in things and meet people and learn how things work. And reporting exposed me to, just here in St. Louis, you meet a lot of people who, like, the common thread was always they wanted quality of life. They want security. Last year, I've did so many stories in North St. Louis following the tornado. And that's like the resounding theme is we want more police. We want this, we want that. I never spoke to someone that was like, we want fewer cops. Sure. And they loved seeing them when they came through. But you realize in talking to these people that they don't have the quality of life that you have other places. Mm-hmm. And I want people to know that we have a great quality of life in O'Fallon. And a major reason for that is the work that these men and women do at the police department. So if I can highlight that and you can appreciate how good you have it, because not everybody does. Right. I think that's important for people to know.
I think that's a really good, fair point there, Caroline, that it's very, a nice area, and I think the residents have come to expect a certain level of police service. And I think our officers are definitely living up to that expectation. So what plans do you have, or what do you see as far as what does engagement and public relations look like to you? And I say that in the sense that the police departments are always the most visible arm of the government at every level, federal, state, or even here local, right? I mean, talking about O'Fallon, who do you see the most? It's the police officers out there in a car or in a uniform. So what does engagement in public relations look like to you?
I think, honestly, we're lucky in St. Charles County to already have the support by and large, of our community when it comes to first responders across the board. That's already built in. And I feel that, and you see it when you look at the engagement online. People naturally support our first responders. So that makes my job easier. But you have to continue, to your point, delivering on that level of service and coming through for people. And so I just try to get out with our officers, and you just watch them do their thing. I don't even have to instruct them. The way they interact with people, you have like Officer Sid and Officer Bob.
Sure,
They've had all kinds of events over the last couple of weeks, and I go to those and I shoot little 30-second videos, and like they drive people to come to things. People come out to see certain officers. We have officers that make that kind of an impact on people, and that makes my job super easy because they're doing the legwork. They're putting in the time and the energy, and people come to expect to see them here, there, cops and bobbers. Like they just come out for certain officers. And I think that's great. When you talk about PR, I think that's great, but it's authentic. It's not forced. I really enjoy talking to you. I'm not just giving you FaceTime. Yeah. And that is rare. You don't find a lot of people who genuinely want to spend time talking to you. And
I think you just hit on something. I'm looking over now, my producer, Joe, because we have yet to have Officer Sid or Officer Bob on this show. And in my head, I'm like, why not? So, Joe, write that down for us. I think that's got to come up here soon. Because what you said is so true. You talked earlier in the show about the SWAT team and the training, right? All this, that's what you see on TV. That's the movie kind of aspect. But Officer Sid, everybody probably listening to this knows who he is. And what's even better about it is that recently, a few months ago, he was named the Officer of the Year for the police department. More than, I don't know, how many officers are there? 130-ish right now. Top cop of the year for the department. Not because he's on the SWAT team, not because he's, rappelling into a window or something like that. But because he's out there, he's a friendly face. He's willing to talk to anybody, hear a problem, hear a joke, hear anything. But he is the PR. He is that visible arm of local government.
He is, and his office is right next to mine. And so for the last month or so, he's been on light duty. And so every morning, before I can set my bag down, he's in my office with a genuine hello. How are you doing? We go over what he's got coming up. But anywhere I go with him in public, it's like, oh, hey, Officer Sid, Sid this, Sid that, or even with Bob this, Bob that.
A lot of the questions like, do you know Sid? Yeah, I know.
Right. Yeah. But he enjoys it. I mean, the guy puts in 12, 14 hours a day. He's in there at 6:30 in the morning, and he'll be like, I got a tour tonight at 6 o'clock with the Cub Scout group. And I'm like, when do you sleep?
Right.
But he loves his job. I think he would do it for free. He said that to me. And I don't know how you replace those kinds of people when they eventually retire.
Sure.
But that's like built-in PR, if you want to, put it in those terms. They do such a great job with people, and it's just fun to watch them work.
So I assume if you just follow him with a camera, you could probably do with nothing else going on.
He knows everybody. You need something for something. He knows the guy for you, or his little Southern twang. He's just endearing, and he's fun, and he loves his job. And
did he give you a sticker yet? How many stickers did you?
I think I got a sticker on my first day. But yeah, he's great.
I had to look at the budget. I'm pretty sure they doubled their budget for stickers when he took over that job. But yeah, kids love him everywhere.
He was out in the pouring rain a couple weekends ago for his barbecue. Like he's just dedicated to the cause. He will do whatever it takes. And he loves working with the kids in the community and patrolling the parks.
Sure.
He'll do 10 laps around the pond at Fort Zumwalt Park. He loves it.
Yeah. Anywhere, talking about the stickers, back in May of this year, they had the Public Works Fair. Public Works Department had a fair up at Ozzie Smith. They do it every year. And I was looking at photos, and these kids are climbing on these big tractors, all the things Public Works Department uses, and they all had a police badge sticker. And where do they get, he's like, he
found him. He's everywhere.
He's everywhere. It's not even his department's event, and he's out there handing out stickers and all that. So yeah, we'll definitely have to get him on the show. Maybe you can talk him into it and get him in here. So the kind of going back to what you're looking forward to and things on both sides. Year or so ago, I know with Channel 4, you covered the probably groundbreaking and ribbon cutting for the Castle Center for Advanced Skills Training and Law Enforcement off Highway 79. That's advancing. So what do you see as far as on this side of the table on what that looks like?
I think there's a lot of opportunities as things continued, honestly, to be built, the EVOC track, I think about that. That's, I think the closest one is in Jefferson City right now. So that being a regional asset, I think is a great tool to market, just even if it's on our social media pages. So maybe I'll get in a car, and I've been told who not to get into a car with if I don't want to be ill. But stuff like that, like that's something fun. Who can say they've done that? Like awesome experience. Or, when they get, I think is it a simunition, something to that effect. All these different components of that project as they continue to open, even the range now. It's nice to be able to show people, like I said, pull back the curtain. This is how it's being utilized. And this is how ultimately at the end of the day, they're using this to train to help keep you safe. I mean, that's the bottom line. It's not for fun. It's so that when and if they need to use it, they're ready. And so I see all kinds of opportunities for video and photo out there as it continues to progress.
And as you talk about the SWAT PT test, it's not for fun, right? Like they're not doing it for fun.
Terrible.
All right, so you got the Castle Project out on 79. The several months ago open ribbon cutting for the Arctic Real-Time Information Center, which is housed at the O'Fallon Justice Center. Tell us about that. Did you cover any of that previously?
I remember last fall, before they had started construction. It was still conceptual, but they were about to start construction over the winter. So to see it now with different walls in or walls out, to see it put together now is really cool. And I've stopped in there. They've had some tours come through, but I've also stopped in there. It's staffed now. So it's really fascinating to be able to watch how they're able to use it for investigative tools and things like that. And everybody working together. It's not just O'Fallon people in there. You've got all the different municipalities all kind of pitching in together. We've been in there during severe weather. It's just, it's a tool that it's very unique, and it's very interesting to watch how it's being utilized in positive ways to help these detectives and such bring, closure to some of these investigations or tips or leads or anything like that.
Right. And then I think lastly, kind of coming online here now-ish is the drones as first responders. Tell us about that. How you see that as far as getting that into that information out to the public.
I think it's really going to help especially when it comes to manpower. If there's an accident or a wreck or something, and we're able to get a drone there in 30 to 40 seconds and kind of gauge where it's at, what lane it's in, the severity. I think that helps when it comes to manpower at the department and sending certain people certain places. I'm really curious just to see it full in action. That's one of those things where you never want anything bad to happen, obviously, but it would be interesting as like a debrief to see how it worked and how it was able to benefit not only those involved, but the first responders and keep them safe and keep the public safe. So I think there's a lot of opportunities there to, again, tell meaningful stories as to how it is benefiting the people here that live in O'Fallon.
It's all great. I think you have a lot on your plate. I mean that you have a lot to work with, things like that. And I think it's a lot of information that the public will just, want to know. And so you got a lot of work there to kind of get that out. Just kind of like wrapping up, what, as a PIO, you're kind of, here's all the information we have and we want to kind of get it out to you. What does that feedback loop from the residents look like? That way it's information sharing.
I think people appreciate transparency. I've always felt that way. Obviously, being a journalist, that's what you strive toward. But I do think people like knowing what's going on in their community. And so every week we put out like a weekly activity report, which highlights some of the calls of interest that take place over the course of those 7 days. And the feedback, at least online from people, is thanks for keeping us in the loop. Thank you for letting me know the kinds of things that you're dealing with or the kinds of things that are going on. Like, it's nice to know what you're up to. Because to your point, it's highly visible, right? You see them driving everywhere, but you're not always knowing what's going on every call. So I think there's a natural curiosity that comes with the public. And a certain expectation for information. Obviously, not everything can be disclosed all at once. But I do think that's a great tool. Even if it's just, 6 or 7 little narratives of what's happened that people are very receptive to. It's like, okay, I saw that commotion over there, every, rumor mill on social media. Well, now I know. Here's the facts. Here's a 2 or 3 sentence summation of what happened. Okay, I can move on with my day. I think people just, they like that rather than being left in the dark and wondering what's going on. I mean, I think it's a good approach. And that was in place before I got to the department, but I've continued it.
Okay, good. Anything, as we wrap up here, anything I didn't ask that you would like, that's any newsworthy things the PD has going on that you want to let people know about, or just anything else? Your open mic time here.
That's dangerous. No, I have really enjoyed this transition. It's been fun. Like I said, I feel like I'm one of very few people who, in both my job in journalism and now, like, work is fun. Like, it doesn't sometimes feel like work. Sure. It's enjoyable. And not many people can say that. I never dread going into work. Like, I love it. It's fun. And the day's over. I'm like, wow, the day's, it's already over. So I've really enjoyed the transition. I was apprehensive about it at first because, TV news was my life. But, I really like the people at the department. We have good people working for us. We have good initiatives, good built-in relationships with the public that continue to grow. So I'm just looking forward to continuing to find those stories to tell. But also, if there's something that's not popular, having a voice at the table, again, getting back to the civilian conversation, of bringing perspectives that maybe weren't previously considered or thought about, as far as how the public receives information or what they kind of want to know versus what we're able to tell them, or the media for that matter. So I feel confident that if and when that day comes, I can step in front of that microphone and, represent the department in a positive way and get the public the information that they need, and whether that's by way of the news or not.
Right.
But I do feel confident that I can do that, and that I have the backing of a command staff that appreciates the perspective that I bring to the table, and we kind of meld that with their expertise in law enforcement to put forward the best message that we can.
Right. That's really what it comes down to.
That's the job.
Accurate and transparent message you can get out there. So, all right, Caroline, thank you so much for joining us here on O'Fallon Life on Air. And we want to thank all of you, all of our viewers and listeners, whether you're listening on Spotify, iTunes, or YouTube. Make sure you click like or subscribe so you can get notified the next time a podcast drops. And until next time, thank you, O'Fallon. There you go.